Dead and Breakfast, an untrue crime plodcast.
Plodcast, Bone? It's a podcast.
No, sir, it's a plodcast. Where plods you a media get it.
Starring me, Detective Inspector Duncan Flint of Scotland Yard.
And me, Detective Sergeant Brian Bow.
Yes. Unfortunately.
Previously on Dead and Breakfast.
A team building weekend? Me? There isn't a barge pole long enough.
Oh, go on, sir. I think it's a cracking idea.
Well, you would, Sergeant.
Is that little old Sergeant Flint?
No, it's Inspector Flint. You're that drugs mule, Carter. Wasting police time's a criminal offence, you know.
Oh, so you don't want to know jack shit about that there Vauxhall narcotics scam?
Where, Tanya?
I'll give you my address, sugar.
Where the bugger and sod have you been?
Oh, nowhere.
I wouldn't want to be in your shoes over this team-building lark.
I have no intention of going on this stupid weekend, and that is final.
You will go on this weekend and you will like it.
Sorry, sir. Got a dash. Duty calls. Constable Chegwin, what have we got here?
Some old grandma discovered in a trash cart.
A trash cart?
Doc thinks she must have been thrown off one of the upper floors.
I'd say the bruising on her midriff is consistent with being gripped forcefully on either side. Someone must have propelled her from the balcony.
Tanya, bloody Carter, dead.
Yeah, I saw it, mate. I saw the whole thing.
Tanya's next-door neighbour. From his opening remarks, I thought I'd struck gold. But then he added...
I didn't see nothing. I didn't hear nothing. And I can't stand around gossiping to you.
All packed and ready for the off, are we then, sir?
Don't remind me. I just hope it's a big hotel.
Dead and Breakfast.
It's a B&B in a converted semi in Sutton.
This afternoon there will be an excursion to the nearby common for a paintballing session. At supper time, a murder mystery night. This morning, it's a person-centred drama therapy workshop.
I see myself as an enabler.
She certainly enabled me. I was in love.
I've fallen for Miss Pashamania here.
What? How dare he?
You bastard! What? And as for you, patch pneumonia, you're a dead woman.
Dead and Breakfast Part 2.
At the end of the session, I took the goddess aside for a discreet word. I'm so sorry about my Sergeant Pat. Miss Semple, sexually harassing you like that.
Well, it certainly came out of the blue. You could have knocked me down with a feather.
I could have knocked him down with a crowbar.
Someone else beat you to it. She, doesn't like me, does she?
Whatever makes you think that?
Oh, she did threaten to kill me.
Ah, yes. That's just her way. If it's any consolation, she can't stick me either.
No way.
Oh, yes. And he's just as bad, the Landudno lump. No respect. They sit there in the office, never doing a stroke, just gawping at Justin Beaverlake on iTube.
That's me the hen. I do hope my jumped-up junior here is not boring the pants off you.
No way, Gordy.
Donkey, my wee boy, it's time for you and your Sarge to be making tracks. If you go down to the woods today, you're sure of a big surprise. A bloody great ball of paint will hit you right between the eyes.
Will you be joining us, sir?
No.
Well, I, for one, will be joining the merry men.
And, to my consternation, the returning Alice agreed.
Wouldn't miss it for the world, would I? A chance to watch Mr. Inspector Flint in action.
Oh dear. What was she up to? As we set out, I broke the silence with my sergeant. I don't like it, Bone.
I don't like you, sir. You tried to steal the love of my life.
Oh, grow up, man. You don't seriously fancy your chances with her.
Well, why not, eh? You know what they say. Carpet diem.
I don't think they say that at all. Besides, you should be more worried about the chief super. He'll be with her all afternoon.
She'll be safe enough there. You forget, sir. He's got a dicky heart.
And you forget, Bone. He's also got a hearty dick.
Dead and Breakfast.
Arriving at the war zone, we were greeted by a familiar face, but I couldn't put a name to it till it opened its mouth and spoke.
Inspector Love, Long time no Georgia.
Mr. Jeffcott.
Not heard a dicky from you since the case of the Queen's Own puppeteers.
Well, if it isn't old Seaside Pier.
I'd forgotten Jeffcott knew our Bertha. It had also slipped my mind that he took more than a passing interest in Bone.
Crikey, it's him.
Bone looked for a thicket to hide in, while the flamboyant old lush took a swig from his hip flask and explained that since the puppeteering had dried up, he'd gone into the paintballing business, or ball painting as Bone insisted on calling it.
It's all the rage, Inspector Love. Big city bankers letting off steam in their combats and balaclavas, tax advisors, lollipop ladies. We even had a party of nuns once. Sister Philomena was our crack shot.
He then togged us out in some decidedly ill-fitting overalls and face masks before appointing 2 team captains.
Inspector Love, I see you and Big Bertha here as the natural leaders of the group. Team A, that's you, Inspector Love, and Sergeant Ducky. Your task is to escort and protect a VIP through hostile territory. And Team B, viz. Bertha and the avenging angel Alice here, it's up to you to intercept Team A, take them out, and kidnap said VIP. Any questions?
Yeah. Who's this VIP then?
C'est moi, naturellement.
All this paraphernalia had taken up valuable seconds, and by the time I turned to see where our opponents had gone, they'd gone.
Sir, they've gone.
Lightweight, Sergeant. They fled back to the bus stop, you mark my words.
I wouldn't be too sure, love. What do you think that is up ahead?
He gestured towards a stretch of shrubbery whose branches appeared to be doing the jitterbug. I didn't need telling twice. With lightning speed and pin-sharp accuracy, I unleashed a volley of emulsion at the unseen cowering girlies and waited.
Looks like you missed, sir.
Rubbish, Bone. They're just sore losers.
I think it might have been a bird, Cherub, though not the kind you thought.
As he said that, a paint-spattered pigeon fell out of a tree and hit the ground. I was so taken aback by this that I inadvertently shot myself in the face mask. Before I could recover, 2 figures with pink armbands sprang out of nowhere and let fly with enough pink paint to cover a pansy version of the 4th bridge. "Bone! Open fire!" was my quick thinking command. He did. The stupid sod covered me in blue paint. "Not on me, you tosser!" The clod only stopped when coming under fire himself from one of the tarts, and from the events of that morning I could guess which one. Eventually our assailants ran out of paint, but not before Alice had most artistically daubed a pair of pendulous breasts on my overalls and the image of a puny limp penis onto Bones. Still reeling from this sustained assault, I had the gross misfortune to catch a cheery Jeffcott inquiring,
Fancy a replay, Inspector Love?
I'd best not tell you my reply, but, glancing at the state of my crotch, I began to think Bones' use of the term ball painting wasn't too far off the mark.
Dead and breakfast, dead and breakfast.
Back at the Doss house, I was attempting, largely unsuccessfully, to erase the paint stains off my skin, Jeffcott's overalls having proved to be more than a little on the porous side.
Best get a move on, sir. You don't want to miss the Cluedo night.
Clueless, more like. I've looked forward to dental appointments more.
Oh, come on,
Now,
sir.
where
It could be
on earth
fun.
Did I put this? Only if I can kill the chief and pin it on you. Bone, have you seen my black Y fronts?
No, sir.
Oh, no,
I don't want to,
down here
neither.
somewhere. I could have sworn I brought an extra pair. Ah, well, commando it is then.
Sir?
What now?
You've missed a bit of paint.
What do you mean I missed a bit of
No,
paint?
no,
What
sir,
you-
not
what you on
there.
about, you stupid
It's
man.
more... It's lower down.
Oh. I had to get out of the building before this whodunit farce began. Luckily, we encountered Alice on the journey southwards, and the volley of abuse she was directing at young Brian provided just the manner of diversion I required.
You needn't think you're sitting next to Tartface, or there'll be a real murder, and it won't be a mystery.
Just as I made my escape through a fire exit door to the backyard, in the encroaching twilight, I could dimly make out the beckoning figure of Gaudy Balderson.
Flint, get your scraggy arse in here, Pronsky.
As I reached him, he thrust a piece of paper into my hand. I was amazed to discover it was the self-same post-it note that had gone missing from my desk. Beneath the address I'd copied down, 3 letters had been added in another hand. P-T-O. I duly PTO'd, and my surprise turned to alarm on reading the words, D.I. Flint, you're dead. Well, clearly Gordy had taken it upon himself to host the proceedings and called for the various characters to introduce themselves.
How do? Good evening, my namesay is the Honourable Archibald Baldacci. Welcome to my stately abode, Killingham Hall.
The women followed in what was plainly a pre-arranged routine designed to unsettle me. Machin purported to be someone called
Conchita, Juanita, Revita!
while Alice adopted the guise of
Cruella Mella, the fortune teller.
Balderson himself had donned a long black gown, topped off by the wig of a High Court judge, which he'd probably swiped off a High Court judge.
Duncan Ignatius Flint, used and accused of murder.
Murder? Who of?
The fucking deceased, you great Jesse. Flint, for a detective, you're about as much use as a cellophane crash helmet. Anyways, how'd you plead?
Not guilty.
Wrong!
I made to leave, pushing aside this trio of idiots, but was stopped at the door by a 4th figure, one whose face was obscured by an executioner's mask.
Detain that man! Do you not even want to hear the charge against you?
What charge?
No charge, senor. We'll do it for free.
You said I was guilty of murder. Who am I supposed to have killed?
How's about Miss Tanya Jolene Carter?
This, and the executioner, stopped me in my tracks. Balderson turned away from me and began addressing the other nerks.
Tanya was a small-time drugs peddler that my wee helper here banged up for a 10-year stretch. She came out of Chokey a bitter woman, seeking revenge. So, Inspector Bent Copper here knew she had to be silenced.
No!
Did you or did you not visit 145 Portico Mansions, Vauxhall on Thursday of this week?
You certainly did, Inspector. I saw you there with my very own peepers. Arriba!
Aye, that's right, isn't it?
Thank you both.
See? Witnesses. And now the poor lass is dead. God rest her soul.
Now, look, I like a laugh as much as the next man, but this has gone far enough.
You're right, man. So let's cut to the sentence.
He donned what at first appeared to be a black cap, but on closer inspection was indisputably my missing pair of Y-fronts.
Duncan Flint, you have been found guilty of the murder of Tanya Carter and of just about every other offence I can think of. I hereby sentence you to be hanged by the neck.
I protest.
Oh, don't knock it, son. I wanted to hang you by the bollocks. Executioner, take the prisoner to a place of execution and execute the shite out of him.
Can we watch?
Watch. If you like, you can help.
Help! As the hooded figure dragged me from the breakfast room and into the hall, Alice snatched the post-it note, stuck it on my forehead and, brandishing a crystal ball, chanted,
My name's Cruella Mella, and I'm your fortune teller. You're going on a journey through a trapdoor to the cellar.
Quiet, Alice. And you? Where are you taking me? He replied in a voice I vaguely recognised but couldn't place.
Not far now.
He opened a door marked Private. Entering the no-go zone, I discovered it was an ensuite bedroom designed to resemble a death cell. Our mystery voice man led me towards the shower compartment where 2 other figures stood, one clad in a prison guard's uniform, the other in holy vestments. The guard wore a peaked cap slanted forward, obscuring his facial features, while the godly one was hooded, clutching a Bible and a rosary.
I've been waiting for this moment for years. Behold my life's work. Is it not glorious? Go on, step in.
Very nice workmanship, I must say. Most decorative. Is it, fully functioning, so to speak?
Oh, of course it is. What do you take me for? A madman?
Oh, no. No, perish the thought.
Perish? Lovely word.
Well, I must congratulate you. Highly realistic. Apart from one small detail.
What do you mean?
Oh, nothing really. It's just that, well, we don't have hanging anymore. Not in this country.
So?
So it can't be entirely realistic if it's simply a relic of the past. Do you not think? I mean, doesn't that sort of relegate it to the level of, I don't know, of a toy train set?
How dare you? This is no toy. This is a working gallows.
Come off it, sir.
It is.
I bet that trapdoor's a fake.
How much?
What?
How much do you bet?
Oh, let's make it interesting. Say a tenner.
A tenner? 20.
All right, you're on.
Right. You don't believe me? Watch this.
Hang on. No, I mean, hold on. Don't.
But he did. He was right. I owed him 20 quid.
Dead and breakfast.
What impressed me most was their speed. The moment his hand pulled that lever, the pair of them leapt forward, grabbed his descending torso and wrenched it back into the room. He was in a bad way, of course, but he'd live. So I made a mental note to avoid bringing up the subject of that bet. Instead, I told him, "You're a lucky man. Having such good friends, they saved your life."
Oh, we're hardly his friends, love.
Mr. Jeffcott, but I thought you ran a paintballing business.
Jack of all trades, Inspector Love.
No sooner had I processed the incongruous concept of my effete acquaintance as a burly prison warder than his associate, the man of the cloth, unfrocked himself, revealing, well, a woman of the cloth.
Are you all right, Donkey? Not too shaken up, huh? You seem to have a post-it note stuck to your forehead.
Oh, Pashmina, you've rescued me.
You've met the wife, haven't you, treasure?
The what?
Pashy et moi. We've been an item for Yonkers.
For sure.
But I assumed you were a screaming...
A screaming what, dear?
Bachelor.
Appearances, Toots. They can deceive.
The pair told me the whole story, having first taken the precaution of tying my would-be assassin's wrists together with the rosary. His name was Harry Easter, co-star of the Sunday night ITV sensation Dalrymple and Dimple. I knew that voice rang a bell.
Something went like a bit freaky with poor Hal when they axed the show. He got really hung up on police procedure and the justice system, you know. Especially capital pun. We lost touch around then. Last I heard, he was on a kind of training course at Hendon.
Eh? For the force?
Yeah, but he failed the exam. Didn't stop him, though. It was like having played Inspector Dalrymple. He really thought he was one of you.
So, love, he spent the ensuing decades dressing up as a flatfoot and confiscating oodles of drugs from one major dealer, only to sell them on to another.
But you can't get away with that kind of caper for long.
Indeed, no, dear. But he did have an accomplice.
Tanya was a bit player on the show. We all knew she was kind of a stoner, and well, seems Harry remembered this and got her involved. Up to her poor neck as it goes, yeah?
I knew she was covering for someone. So why did she wait till this week to...
Because she loved him, Donkey, and all he did was, use her.
Love, Inspector Love, it makes fools of us all. Well, some of us.
I didn't much like the way Piers looked at me as he said that. But it was clear these two were a couple of spooks working undercover, and now, between us, we'd nabbed the killer. I couldn't wait to wipe that smug smile off the Chief Super's face. It wasn't hard to find my yard colleagues. They were slobbing out in the TV lounge, Balderson still in his wig and my black Y fronts. I cleared my throat, pointedly.
Shush.
If anyone's interested... I've got him.
What do you mean him? What about the other two?
Eh? What other two? Oh, dear God. No.
Flint, man, you twat-faced ninny, you fucked it up again.
Dead and breakfast.
You great blundering nincompoop. I thought you were a policeman, Flint. Did you get lost on the way to Hendon?
But, sir, how was I to know? I thought they were on our side working undercover. You know, a couple of spooks or something.
Spooks, man. Spooks. What the fuck do you think this is? Halloween? While your Mr. Filthy McNasty there was recovering from having his windpipe realigned, your fancy bit and her boyfriend legged it with his ill-gotten loot. I mean, they were chancers, Flint. A couple of cons. Actually, they've been known to us for some time.
Well, principally to me, Chief Superintendent. As you'll recall, Inspector, dear old Pierce and I go all the way back to the Dark Ages. Bit of a rascal, that one, but a merry, harmless sort of soul. Or so I thought. Lately, though, I began to suspect he was up to something. Quite by chance, I spotted a couple of curious WhatsApp exchanges between him and someone going by the handle of Dimple.
I gasped. The others gave me a look. I stopped gasping.
So I got Alice in Wonderland here to work her magic on him.
How exactly?
Simple. I hacked his emails.
You can do that?
Of course I can. Duh. I do it all the time.
Well, I hope you've never hacked mine.
Oh, couldn't do that, Mr. Flint. No one ever writes to you.
Well, the messages implied that the pair knew Tanya was in danger of attack from Pentecost here. You're Mr. Big, Inspector. So I simply passed that on to the Chief.
What? Sir, why wasn't I informed? You knew it was my case.
Aye, I did. And I also knew that you would make a right matzo pudding of it, which you have. So it was decided by me to cook up this whole weekend team-building shite as a pretext for booking into your man's B&B. We needed him to show his murderous hand, Flint.
What? By seeing if he would go ahead and kill me?
Well, you have to admit it made for a damn good show.
All that guff about finding me guilty of Tanya's murder, I deeply resent that.
Well, I don't see why. Made you seem heaps more interesting than you are.
For the record, sir, and in front of witnesses, I did not kill Tanya Carter.
And neither did I.
Shut it, you. You're under arrest.
Do you know, sir, I think he's telling the truth.
What do you want?
Just a few more questions, if you can spare a moment.
It's bloody Sunday, pal. I'm watching channel
732 Animal Helicopter Pilots, am I right?
Oh, you're a bit more clued up than what you was the other day.
I didn't get much sleep last night, sir. It gave me ample time to read the TV listings guide my hotelier had so thoughtfully provided.
And
I couldn't help but notice that Escape from the Planet airs on Mondays. Tanya Carter was killed last Thursday.
yeah, well, every day's the same when you're a pensioner.
Oh, but you are something of a TV expert.
Oh, well, I like my telly, I do. It runs in the family. Do you know, my daughter's so keen, she even named her girls Apple and Sky.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, if she has a son, she's going to call him Netflix.
Fascinating. And as for you, sir, you are so much more than just a pensioner.
Hey, how do you mean?
Last night, I also had time to research your CV. A distinguished national service record. 2 years in Malaya, most impressive.
Well, you know, you've got to do your best for your country, ain't you?
Quite. What's less impressive, though, is that you've got a record. ABH from your days as a nightclub bouncer.
You got the wrong man, son.
Oh, so that was another Lenworth Garriott, was it? Funny. Not what you'd call a common name.
Look, I ain't got time for
Neither
this.
have I, sir. So let's get back to Tanya.
I told you,
Last time, you seemed to know more about her death than you were letting on. That remark you made about her going over the top. You told me you didn't see or hear anything, didn't talk to anyone, so how did you know about...
It's a figure of speech, mate. She was always going over the top. You know, showbiz. Anyhow, I didn't know her.
Oh, come on, Mr. Garriott. What did she do that was so over the top? Sing in that horrible Lancashire accent of hers? That'd be enough to drive anyone nuts.
Do you know what it was like? Willie Nelson coming through the wall at all hours.
Not worth killing for, surely.
Don't you get it, you moron? I couldn't hear the telly.
And for that, she had to die.
Look, mate, when I worked at the club, we didn't stand for no trouble. If someone tried it on, we threw them out.
come here alone, did you?
Now, sir, don't get any ideas about throwing me out too. Some of my colleagues might miss me.
If I was to, come quietly, can I take the telly? I don't suppose they'd let me keep the missus.
Oh, I doubt they'd have kennel facilities in the scrubs.
No. Off a mo then. As before, the mongrel came shuffling towards her master, who suddenly grabbed her lead and, swatting me aside with great force, dragged her towards the balcony.
If I can't have her, no other bugger can.
Sir, wait!
Oh my God!
I reached the rail just in time to see the odd couple land face down in what was rapidly becoming the dust cart of doom, or should that be the skip? Somehow, her old fella had hit the trash before she did, as, when I inspected them at ground level, I found her sitting there on his back, looking more than a tad disgruntled. Well, I couldn't just leave her there, could I?
Well done, sir. You got the girl in the end.
Fuck off, Bone.
In part 2 of Dead and Breakfast, the plodcast, if you could be bothered, you might have heard Simon Carter as Flint, George BLACKMAN as Bone, Lindsay Frost as Alice, NAOMI PAXTON as Machin, and Bob Sinfield as Boulderson and Garriock, with KATHRYN HAYWOOD as Tanya, Kenneth Michaels as Piers and the Executioner, and SUZANNE RAYNER as Pashmina and Chegwin. Your announcer was LORRAINE MURRIN. That's me. And frankly, I'm better than all of them put together. The script, if you can call it that, was written by Bob Sinfield, stolen from characters created by Tom Poole, who must have a sick mind. The music was composed and performed by Lindley Gooden. Well, he's no Mozart, is he? Dead and Breakfast is a CarterBloke and Dr. Sin UK co-production. Never heard of either of them.
Special thanks to Lena SAHLHOLDT for singing and to Max for barking.
Can I go now?
Sure.
Okie dokie, so let's turn this off.